lot to look forward to this week. Okay, the biggest speech has to be on Friday, and I alluded to this last night with my Sunday walk video. But we do have a couple other things. We have a couple FOMC members talking, but Wednesday, I think, is also interesting. FOMC meeting minutes, right? This is going to be showcasing what was discussed in the meeting in July, where a lot of people thought that they should have cut the Fed fund rate, which they didn't. But Fed Chair Powell did say that they really thought about it during the meeting, right? So maybe something comes out of it that they haven't shared that could actually be a big catalyst. Maybe something comes out that indicates that for sure they're going to be very aggressive from here on out with rate cuts because they're afraid the economy has gotten too bad. Something like that. So Wednesday could be interesting. Sometimes FOMC meetings don't mean a whole lot, but this one can, because everyone's trying to figure out how drastic the cuts will be, right? Starting with the very first one next month in September. And then, of course, we had Fed Chair Powell going to Jackson Hole, and it's just a place in Montana that looks beautiful with mountains and stuff, but it's almost like a mini FOMC meeting. He's going to be doing a press conference and just sharing, again, just like an FOMC meeting, like what he feels the economy, the state of the economy, what he feels like it's in, and how we're doing, and overall, just give a synopsis of like everything, all things economy based, right? And of course, what the FOMC, the members and himself, how they're going to lean with the next meeting, and whether or not they're going to cut. At this point, we know for sure, but the question was how much? 25 basis points or 50 basis points? Don't know. In case you're wondering, this is what it looks like in terms of all the Jackson Hole like performance or post performance. The last one that he did last year resulted in a 2.5% gain in the S&P 500, which is good. The one before resulted in a negative 3% gain. So inconclusive whether or not, and the one before was positive and the one before that was negative. I mean, so it's inconclusive, but you can see if you go all the way back to 2000, there's been more good than bad. So, if you had to guess whether or not the markets will rally or dump, I guess, it's better to put your money on the long side than the short side at this point, right? And I do think that he is going to be saying a lot about rate cuts, upcoming rate cuts, which should boost markets. So, yeah, so we have that. Besides Jackson Hole and the Fed minutes, we have, jobless claims that's coming Thursday, and some of the other data like home sales and stuff like that. But the biggest thing is going to be Jackson Hole. The biggest thing is everyone's going to see what he's going to say, right? I think it's going to be good. I don't think he's going to say anything bad. It's not like he's going to say, no, there's no rate cuts. Inflation is still not. No, I mean, we just had inflation data show for the first time in how many years we're at 2.9% inflation. There's nothing stopping it. It's just whether he's going to be super aggressive with a 50 basis point cut or not with a 25 basis point cut, but it's coming. It's coming. Now, what else is coming? Gold. Gold is supposed to be at 3,000 by next year. And for gold, that's pretty good considering it's 2,500 right now. And it's been stuck at 2,000 for how many years? Years upon, decade basically, right? So gold going up could be a good thing. Could be a good thing for Bitcoin and for all assets, right? It's a kind of like a precursor of what's to come. If you look at, there's been charts that correlate Bitcoin's movement versus gold, and how Bitcoin is just like mimicking gold in its early days, right? Gold is now like maturing going to mature levels where Bitcoin is still in the parabolic growth stage. What else is interesting is Japanese yen is strengthening again. So that is not good. You don't want, I mean, the whole thing, you could argue, the whole disruption and the market fall and everything that we had was due to the yen strengthening, right? And that's because their central bank decided to raise their Fed fund rate. Yes, raise, not cut, because they were at negative interest rate for like 8 years, way more than they should have been. So yen strengthening, probably not good. Probably not good. So yeah, we still have some stuff to worry about. Oh yeah, and let's not forget the fear level is still at 28. Yeah, I talked about this in my cruise video. We were at 25, extreme fear. Now at 28, still fearful. We're still at the level that we were at 20,000, which makes no sense. Understandable, but makes no sense, right? So yeah, we still got some, we got some fuddish stuff out there. So there's no doubt about it, but hey, if you look past the FUD, you realize that there are a lot of good stuff too, right? Things that you should pay attention to that will alleviate all the FUDishness away. Number one, 75% of all Bitcoin has been hodled for over 6 months. 6 months, that's not bad. We're talking about 75% of all Bitcoin in existence. That's really, really crazy if you think about it. Okay? So if you're just looking at this, it's kind of, hard to kind of understand. But if you just look at the HODL waves, right? The longest holders are the ones in purple. And then you have 7 to 10 years, 5 to 7 years, and keep going. Basically, what it comes down to, you got a whole lot of holders. And here's another look at it, right? And basically, you have a lot of holders. And if you're using the HODL waves to measure tops, we're nowhere close to top, right? So if you look at all the previous peaks where there was like 100% holding, and it was just absolute insanity, we're nowhere close to that. We're nowhere close to that. We are still going higher in terms of holding, and that is good. That is what we want to see, right? But right now, what's happening is you have a lot of institutions that are buying and holding. I don't know about retail. Retail, of course, is going up, but not nearly as much or as fast as institutions. And keep in mind, 94% of all Bitcoin has been mined already. There's only 6%, and that's going to be spread out over 100 years. Yes, 100 plus years. I think 2040 is when Bitcoin is done with mining. So everyone's fighting for the last 6% in the next 126 years. Everyone now is fighting for, what exists. And out of the 19.7 million, you have at least 6 to 7, if not higher, amount of Bitcoin lost. So really, everyone's fighting for a lot less, right? That's why holding is so important. Accumulation is so important. The more you accumulate, the better you will be in the future.